Hi, Wayne Chapin from Xerillion, and today I'm talking with our client, Tony Felice, who's managing partner of Drexel Hamilton, LLC. And Drexel Hamilton is an investment bank out of New York City, New York, with 50 users. And Drexel Hamilton, they moved into Microsoft 365 E3, the Microsoft phone system, and they use Xerillion's Enterprise Cloud Managed IT services. With that being said, Tony, thanks for joining. And Tony, what is Drexel Hamilton in the business of?
We're a service-disabled, veteran-owned broker-dealer. What we do is we're in securities transactions. If a company comes to market with a bond issuance, like a McDonald's, we hope to get a piece of that underwriting. Obviously, the big banks like Goldman, JP Morgan will be the lead underwriters, and we're trying to get in and underwrite a smaller piece of that. We have a secondary mission. It's owned and operated by all disabled military veterans, and we employ about 50 to 60% of our employees are all veterans as well. So we got to have that side mission, and that kind of also helps us in that world, in the diversity space of it.
What is your primary role at Drexel Hamilton?
I'm kind of the managing partner, and some people say the CEO, but I feel like I'm more of the COO, more kind of doing the ops. The firm has been around about 10 years. Myself and a group were employees there, purchased the firm from the owner, who also stayed with us, but took the majority ownership and control about 2 years ago. So I kind of run the day-to-day. I also cover accounts, just like everybody in our place is a account coverer as well.
Okay, great. Thanks for sharing that. Now, what I want to do is, before we get into the interview part with Tony, I want to do an overview of Drexel Hamilton's Microsoft 365 system. So again, they are in Microsoft 365 E3, the Microsoft phone system, and using Xerillion's managed services. So the three main components is, when they originally came to talk to us, one of the things they wanted to do is they wanted to get their files moved into Microsoft Teams. So their files are in Microsoft Teams and OneDrive, and we'll talk a little bit more about that. They moved their phone system into the Microsoft phone system, and everybody's running Windows 10 Enterprise because it comes with their subscription. And we also did some big jumps in their security. One of the main things here, in addition to everybody running Windows 10 Enterprise, is all of their identities are protected with multi-factor authentication and enforced through Azure Active Directory. Their files and emails have retention policies, so they are protected in the event of an accidental or intentional deletion or purge of their files. Those can be recovered. Their computers are configured with Microsoft Intune, so all of their computers are configured with a Microsoft Intune configuration profile. So the old days, we used to have to go in and we would set up an imaging system. Well, we don't have to do that. We have a digital imaging system. So we push it out to all the computers. All computers are set up in a very consistent way. New computers are set up with this Intune configuration profile as well. And then the computers are updated routinely with Microsoft Intune Windows Ring update policies. And they also have a compliance policy with Microsoft Intune and Azure Active Directory. So it's not just enough that somebody logs in with a proper username and password. Even if they pass multi-factor authentication, their system has a check through Microsoft Intune and says, well, wait a second, what are you connecting in with? And it has to pass their compliance policy. Things like that. It has to have an encrypted hard drive. It has to have antivirus. It has to have a lockout screen. It has to have an up-to-date version of the operating system. All of those are set up with a compliance policy, and it must pass that through Microsoft Intune. When they log in, that's passed over to Azure Active Directory, and Azure Active Directory either enforces it, allows them in, or doesn't. And then all of their mobile apps and data are managed with Microsoft Intune's app protection policies. All of their email and files that are on smartphones, whether that's iOS and Android, we manage the apps people download onto their smartphones, and that data is also managed as well. So if somebody wants to connect in with email, they have to use Outlook Mobile. They can't just use whatever app they want. And that data only stays on that smartphone as long as that user is active on the system. If that user is no longer active in the system, that's it. That data comes off of that smartphone. And it works the same way with OneDrive and Teams as well. And then lastly, it's worth noting that they use Office 365 security labels for files and emails. So it's the idea that you can take a security group, and instead of just applying it to a folder, you can apply it to the file, no matter where that file or the email goes in the world, or whoever has it. If they're not a member of that security group, they're not going to be able to see the contents of that file. Again, no matter where it goes in the world. All that being said, hopefully that gives you an idea, the person watching this, what their system is like. Tony, before you called us, what was the status of your IT before working with Xerillion?
Yeah, we had a on-premises server which was getting up there in, I guess, age. All the computers kind of dialed into that server. If you were remote, that's where we really found the problems, is we had a VPN, and sometimes that would never connect. We would have printers connecting to the server and constantly have to reset the server to get the printers to work. And our phone system, we had like 3 providers, one voice over IP, something called truncating, which still don't know what it is, and another service. We were initially started looking into it as more of just a cost savings. We didn't realize the functionality. We were in the dark ages compared to where we should be. And, we had security concerns. We had to have an on-premise server talk to a cloud backup. We had all these, I forget what, these syncs that were going on. The syncs sometimes wouldn't sync with the on-premises server, and, email would go down. It started to get to be, a weekly problem. And so we started inquiring on, all right, what else is out there? We don't have too many people piping into us for information. Do we need a server? That's kind of where we found you guys. I forgot who recommended me, but we spoke, and I just remember the first time, I think it was William I spoke with, and I was just like, wait a second, he's answering all my questions here. And that's kind of, we said, all right, we moved forward pretty quickly after that.
So you basically had a traditional system, VPNs, a bunch of different vendors, and you're like, well, maybe we can simplify things by getting inside of Microsoft 365. But then as we were talking, we were listening to what you were looking for. You're like, well, wait a minute, maybe there's something better than just getting our files moved up there.
Right. That was the main thing, is the access to files. And then it was, wait, we don't have to dial into this on-premises server. And if I'm in California with clients and I open my laptop and I don't have the VPN, I could just have everything there. And we were pretty somewhat tech unsavvy, but got up to speed pretty quickly.
Yeah, right. And now you have one of the most sophisticated systems that Microsoft makes.
Yeah, I think we have a system that's, friends in the industry come over to say hi, and they kind of like, wait, where's your phone? I go, it's my headset. And they're like, what? We have a system that's much better than a lot of places, a lot bigger.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely. And I say this over and over again. When somebody gets into Microsoft 365, especially when they get into E3 like you guys have, or E5, most of the people that they work with, or their customers work with, or they're even companies that are, Fortune 500 companies, they aren't even in these systems yet, because they have these huge systems, huge legacy infrastructure that is not easy for them to get adjusted over here. And here you are with the system that is even better than what they have. And that's what any small business can do. They can have this incredible enterprise system at a fraction of the cost that would cost to put this and host it in a data center somewhere. What about Microsoft 365 and the Microsoft phone system then interested you the most? So you had your files and you wanted to simplify things, but when you were looking around at different options, were you just initially like, well, no, I definitely want to be in the Microsoft cloud, or were you looking at different options like Google or Amazon, things like that?
No, well, we had already had Microsoft 365 subscriptions for our email. I was one of the few people using OneDrive. That was kind of the extent of not realizing that you were using 10% of the platform. We just initially thought, when we talked to William over at Xerillion, that, hey, we already use this stuff. Maybe it makes sense to just build on what we have, because I do know that the one thing I do know about tech is the integration sometimes is not the easiest thing. And so we figured, well, we already have this system, maybe it should build on it. And, you look online and you do your homework. And we've done business with Microsoft in the past on the financing side. So, it's a company that we know. We figured, hey, it talks to one another already. Let's give this a whirl.
Gotcha. So you're already using bits and pieces. And that's an interesting point you bring up there, because a lot of people, they're in the cloud with Microsoft 365, but they got their email going. So they got rid of the on-premise Exchange server. They got everybody the subscription version of the Office desktop apps, but that's where it stopped. So in your case, just like you said, you're one of the few people that actually had OneDrive running, and you were doing something with it. So it wasn't just email and the desktop apps, but you had OneDrive going. You're like, well, what else can we do with this? And you were interested in Teams at the same time. Now, that's interesting.
Teams. And so, the finance world used to use a thing called AOL Instant Messenger forever.
Yeah. Okay.
Even as opposed up to about a couple of years ago. And so the chat, when that went away, the chat functionality, just amongst coworkers, kind of stopped. We use Bloomberg, obviously, the financial services. Everybody has a Bloomberg terminal, so be able to use that. But the other piece was the ease of kind of adding and onto the system. If we had an Amazon Web Services, we'd still have to get them an email with Microsoft, so we would have to kind of add them in two places. Where we didn't want to have to do that with Azure and then the kind of 365, you just do it once and it's the person's. It's within minutes.
Right. There's one account to turn all those services off, or turn it on, and there's one account to turn all those services off. Yeah.
And then, keeping them in different, we have, just like any business lines, having the teams set up in business line format. In one place, I just say, this person's been hired to work on equities. We put him in the equities department. Everything he gets, it's just one click and it's good. And that person's set up in his department without having to worry about anything.
How have you guys liked having your files in Microsoft Teams?
It's great. I mean, with the sync functionality right to your computer, we've got some people that are not, again, as tech savvy as they maybe should be, so they immediately look for their folders. And the fact that the folders talk to Microsoft Teams and then I guess eventually SharePoint behind that makes everything easy. And when they go and you can see the updates, I was surprised a lot of our employees are now kind of looking at Teams primarily, not even looking at the folders because they're looking for the last updated stuff, which they can never find in the folders. So it's really starting to kind of, we've only been on, I think, about 8 months now. So everybody's really gotten up to speed recently with this coronavirus and everybody working from home. But it's the functionality is pretty unbelievable.
And that's interesting. So that was going to be my next question. How has your team adapted to it? So you got your phones in there, you got your files in there. Yeah. Can you speak about how that adaptation process worked for you guys? And, because one of the other things is that, all right, your files are in there, but people are used to, like you said, they're used to working with inside of Windows File Explorer, which sounds like they were still doing some of that.
Yes.
But now they're going into Teams and you have things grouped into channels for the different groups that you have and stuff like that. What was the journey and the process for you guys to go from, hey, everybody, we're putting in this cool new technology, we're gonna have an enterprise cloud system from Microsoft, to go from, we're putting this in, to like, okay, we're actually really using this now. We're starting to see how collaboration and teamwork is improved when we use Microsoft Teams. What was that adaptation process for you guys?
Well, I think it's ongoing still, right? It's everybody's kind of at their own pace. We had initial training, which was great, which got everybody the basics, and they needed to do that, especially on the phone system, right? That's something that was a little bit different from what they were used to. I think people still dial 9 to try to get out, and we got to tell them, no, you don't have to dial 9 anymore. It started out with your basic, all right, I know my email, I know what I'm doing there. And then it kind of evolved into, got the file stuff. I'm pretty good about that now because I've synced it and I'm starting to peek over into Teams. And it was kind of like the chat functionality and the conference, video conferencing and kind of call as a group functionality that came in last. And now, again, like we said, I'd probably save this for later, but the coronavirus has kind of forced us, everybody remote, at least temporarily. In literally 8 o'clock in the morning, we hit a button and the whole firm gets online and talks to one another, which has been, even when we get back into the office, I think we're now going to implement that as standard policy. Hey, we're going to do this call regardless because we might have someone traveling away from the office because it comes on their phone now as well. And it's that easy. And our communication as a group has gotten so much better. We used to be pretty siloed, and now we're not. We have literally one chat in there that's the entire firm for important stuff. It's really good. No one misses anything anymore.
There's like a daily huddle meeting in the morning.
Each department had their own. We very rarely had a full-on blown whole firm one. We figured last Friday when everybody had to go remote, we should try this. And we thought, okay, this is going to take a couple times. And we would hit the phone button and everybody was on, and it was
wow.
So we've continued this now all week, and it's been really good. Something that obviously some departments can't talk to other departments about what they're doing. So we know what our compliance procedures are with that. But it's good to get an all firm update and kind of what's everybody working on, what's important today. The departments weren't doing that amongst one another, and we're in a business where one department can give some insight to others, and that was never happening, and now it's happening.
If I dig into that a little bit. So it's really, we do a 9 o'clock all hands morning meeting, 9 to 9:15, and everybody joins it. But we're a team of 16. You're a team of 50. So now, what I'm thinking in your situation, yeah, you're not going to be able to get everybody into a conference room every single morning. But
Right.
now you're like, well, whether there's 5, 10, 15, 20 people, the entire firm, I mean, everybody can join in the meeting. Here, let me ask this. How about turning on video? Is anybody doing that?
It's funny, in Teams when it goes on, there's boxes everywhere. And
Yeah.
some people are fine with it, with the video. Some people just have it on. I don't think some people don't know what they just hit. So they sometimes are there on video and they not realize they're on video. But I think we've been mostly phone. I think also our home base during this time, they don't have video functionality on their laptop or camera yet, or video camera yet. But in the office, I think because we're all sitting there, we'll still do it from our desk when we go back, but we'll probably just keep it on the phone. But some people are getting comfortable with the video.
So
We plan on expanding offices too, which is, I think we're going to definitely need to use it then. We had some offices that we kind of scuttled in the past 2 years, and now we need to reopen some in certain areas. Before there was just no way to talk to them, or even their entire. We'd have a different, sometimes on-premise server there that VPN talk to VPN. That's all gone now. We just plug it in and we're ready.
Once you turn on the video in the meetings, when you get in team meetings, once you turn on the video, that's when it becomes really, really powerful. But I would imagine outside of Xerillion, because everybody has to turn on their video at Xerillion, but outside of Xerillion, I bet it's two meetings out of 100. And that's fine. I get it. Most people are concerned about turning on the video because I think you get a lot out of it. But it sounds like, well, you got a few people that'll turn on here and there, and eventually, you guys might add that over time. But right now, so people, you hit a button, everybody's right in there, and they're talking with each other, and people can go around and do their stuff, and that's awesome. And I imagine it's nice too not to worry about who's dialing who, dialing where, what phone number, and stuff like that. You just hit the button and go.
It's kind of the running theme with this. Just works.
One of the powerful things about Teams is that it moves for messaging. It moves a ton of redundant conversation thread emails, which are just the same the same email again and again, another copy. So it's every time you are part of a group and somebody hits reply all, then another copy of this same email is made with a little bit more of the message added to it, and that just builds up 5, 10, 15, 20 conversation files inside of your mailbox. So one of the powerful things about Teams is that you go from tons of emails down to one message thread in a conversation channel. Have you guys been able to make use of that?
Totally. I mean, just like you said, the got it email goes out to 20 people. It doesn't happen anymore.
Yeah, right.
It stays in the chat.
Right.
Everybody knows, okay, they got it. We're good. We don't need to send it. And your inbox is completely manageable now. Or, you used to have 3,100 messages down to like 64 because a lot of the internal stuff is done on Teams.
You said exactly right there. And that's my experience too. For me, the Outlook mailbox, it becomes sacred ground for my customers and my suppliers. Anything else gets blocked, but that frees up so much more focus for those inbound messages from customers, and it just keeps all that clutter out of there. But yeah, exactly like you said, it's just one conversation thread, or just like you said, the got it. Or the thumbs up. Have you guys been doing any of the thumbs up icons?
People are starting to use it now. I'm not an emoji guy, but definitely doing it. And you can kind of see, all right, that's acknowledged. I got it. And I even like you could see the little on the little side when it's sent. It has I call it a chevron, which is the right.
Yeah.
And then the eye pops up when someone's read it. So all right, that person they saw it, right? And they usually give you the got it. That's really cut down on the got it emails or tracking. We don't get those anymore. It's nice.
Totally. I used to just send stuff saying it said 10-4. I was like a trucker. I was talking like, hey, 10-4, got it. But it was just, we didn't need another set of files going out to 5, 6 people for Wayne saying 10-4. And the thing I like about that is when somebody's responding is that now they responded, and if it was something you posted, now you got an alert that they responded. Mm-hmm. And the alerting that's done in Teams, I'm sure before Teams, you wouldn't have a ton of confidence that all those emails that are coming in are really a great use of your time to go in and look through. Because some of it's going to be spam, some of it's just going to be redundant conversations that you as a managing partner got pulled in, CC'd into, even though other people are handling it. But in Teams, every time you get an alert notification, it's relevant to you. Somebody's tagged you.
Well, and you also tend to, if you step out of the office for a half-hour meeting or something, instead of getting 17 emails, you get 17 lines on Teams. It's real easy to just go, read it. You're up to date. You don't have to go through a ton of email. So it's really nice in that fact. You can kind of, it's like the cliff notes for email. It kind of just goes in.
I love that.
All right, this is what was talked about. Now we're going to move on. I don't have 15 messages in my inbox anymore.
So you're saying you go in, you look at your activity feed, your unread messages in the activity feed. It's a very concise group, and you could go right through it. And if you got to respond, it takes you right to that place you got to respond.
Right to that place you got to go.
Yeah. I feel that what you just spoke about there is the thing that, as a manager in the company, in my company, gives me so much more confidence about the business, because I know if I go into Teams, it's all relevant stuff, and I can look through really fast and respond really quick, and I'm done, like within minutes. Just like you said, that level of focus and reduces the distractions, but it just brings a lot of confidence. It reduces stress that I feel. When you see a lot of emails pile up, lots of emails create stress and anxiety. Teams removes that out.
And it's pretty wild. You see it kind of, even like in the beginning, it was, as people got used to it, and then it started to be, send me that. And the email doesn't go out. They just attach the file in Teams, which is which you don't normally see. We didn't see that in the beginning, and now we're seeing so much more of, when you go through our chat logs on Teams, it's files being dropped in and stuff like that. So it's really good.
That was one thing I was going to ask you too, because one of the things I tell people is that in the beginning, people are so ingrained with messaging in Outlook. It's just, even though they see Teams, they know it's the big thing, but when they're in their regular work routine, they go right into Outlook and they just start messaging again. I would say good 3 months when we made the shift, and I, as the owner of the company, I can say, folks, we're doing this. Everybody, we're going into Teams, send me messages in Teams. I still spent 3 months politely reminding people again, hey, you just sent me an email. Could you please put this in the Teams channel?
Right.
So did you guys do any of that, or people are just kind of naturally progressing into Teams?
Naturally kind of did it. Wow. But we set up the groups for them, tagged everybody to a group, and then as time took place, you started to see people create their own chat groups for their own departments. And what's really been good is, in the beginning they kind of put me on them all because they thought, I was in. So then there was so many times when they started to really use the functionality of the call or the video features that I would get a call on Teams and be like, yeah. They're like, oh, we didn't know you were on. I'm like, yeah. They go, oh, we just hit our phone button. We all wanted to gather. And so it had to get me out of a lot of those, which was fine. But then that was kind of like a couple months into it, people started doing that.
And they're also, so it sounds like you said, in addition to the defined Teams channels, people are creating their own private groups, chat groups.
We have to have defined Teams channels because of compliance, right? So not everybody can be in certain ones based on their job function because of informational barrier walls. And it's real easy. They're just not in that channel. They can't get in that channel.
Yeah, right.
As opposed to separating it on the server and blocking it off. It's just literally that person doesn't go in there, that person does. Within those channels, people have created their own kind of chat functions that have brought some other people in that are allowed to kind of ancillary groups that maybe would benefit from knowing, hey, these bonds are trading here.
Wow, you guys are really adapting it. That's great.
Yeah. I mean, we're heavy Bloomberg users too.
Yeah.
We really internally have moved off Bloomberg to Teams. So, and all of our required archiving that's required by FINRA and the SEC, Teams is part of that now. So all of that stuff gets archived.
When we get to the Microsoft phone system part, you guys opted to do a mix of traditional desk phones and then people with headsets like I have on here and just using the Teams app. Could you talk a little bit about that and how that's worked for you guys?
Yeah, I mean, there was some, we have traders, some traders. They're used to picking up the phone, and we didn't want to totally blow their minds. So the ones that were a little bit more tech savvy, we said, hey, would you like a headset or would you want to do phones? And so we had that mix. I kind of try to lead by example and said, I'm using just a headset, because you get that. Well, what are you going to use? Just a headset, because the phone's it's going to be right there. Since this working remotely, everybody's now on headsets, or like myself right now, this is just simply my laptop speaker and video. I don't have any other things. I guarantee when we get back into the office again, more people will kind of jettison the phone and start to use headsets. We only ordered a couple of the Bluetooth Jabrars. Now I think there's going to be a run on those because I got a few extras. So we might have to order some more from you guys. But it seems to really, I think people are going to start going that way to do it. But we also have breakout rooms, and our investment banking group have to be separated. So you do have some common area phones, and it works pretty well.
The phone call flow, is it you go to a main number, then there's a group of people that might pick up, or is it pretty much everybody just has a direct dial number and there's really no main number that people call into?
I think we have about 5 to 6 call queues,
okay,
which are by department, right? Because we get invited into, deals. We can't rely on one person being able to pick up the phone. So we'll have a main number for, say, our debt capital markets group that will ring 6 people at once. So when, in our working group list, when we send them to, the main underwriters, we will include that number. So they just have one number to call. They have one email to hit that will hit everybody. And again, the beautiful thing about the 365 is putting people in and out of that call queue or that group is as simple as a click. Move to another department, take them out of that, put them in this department, add this person. It's literally done with your mouse.
That's great. And then that call flow is continuing now as everybody's working from home during this pandemic.
That was the thing that we really worried about was what are we going to miss? And, we went ahead and, key people will get direct. We made sure that they had call groups after 20 seconds, ring these people. Working from home, I thought I'd be sitting in my little office. My kids run in here about 17 times today, so I have them and pull them, get them out of here. And I miss a call, but it rolls to somebody else. And you can set that up, again, with the click of a mouse with the phone system, as opposed to, I remember my phone back when we had them, hit the button that says call forward, dial my number. That was it. The phone functionality is, I think, the thing that took me by surprise the most.
In your office, the phones were working in a certain way. Great, got that all configured. Now, outside of the office, the phones are still working the same way.
Still working the same way, yeah. I mean, literally, we sit on trade desk, most of the people. So it didn't, if someone was gone and sat 2 away from you and their phone rang, it was get up, go grab the phone, see what's going on. Now that thing just rolls. Right. Now, I know that other places have that functionality too. We can change that at a click of a mouse. This person's moving departments, get them off, move this person, and it's just click, 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 and it's all set up.
So between, your files, your email, your in Teams, and the phone system and your meetings, you're like, well, I mean, the meetings have been a change because we're doing these virtual meetings now.
Yeah.
But everything else is pretty much working the same as when we were in the office.
Yeah, a little bit better, I think.
Yeah. That's right. It's just saying the meetings are maybe a little more effective and stuff like that. Wow.
Yeah, they just are. Yeah. That's the truth.
We're recording this again during the coronavirus pandemic, and there's a lot of places that are working from home and getting this stuff figured out and stuff like that. I mean, for you guys, what has it meant to you as far as like, wow, we have true business continuity here?
Yeah. The business continuity plan was always just something we had written in our procedures, but to actually execute upon it. I was telling you before the call, Tuesday, we were involved in a pretty large financing of a pretty major company where we had to not only receive orders, get back to the main underwriters with color, but also solicit the orders for the bonds. And there was a real test to see if this was going to really happen. We didn't miss a beat. I mean, underwrote $30 million in bonds, sold them, got them to the lead, got color to all our other clients on it, all with people in their sweatpants right now.
That's awesome. That's awesome. There's the business continuity aspect, which, okay, operations continue as they were in the office. And then on top of that, there's the other thing, which is disaster recovery. Well, all this stuff's in Microsoft's data centers. So, we're good there too.
Yep. Yeah. I mean, we had an on-premises server, which again, I told you was old. We had an old joke in the Army that said, I think it's run by diesel. That's what it seemed like it was on, diesel fuel. We don't have to worry about that now. Our office was located lower Manhattan. In 2011, Sandy wiped out the building, the lower floors of the building. So all the connections were gone. To be able to pick up and plug in and you're back to normal, it's kind of nice having.
I mean, you guys are living it. So, and then you also opted to use Xerillion's Confident Cloud managed enterprise cloud IT services. And so we do your help desk, we do your back end cloud systems management. Can you talk a little bit about that and how it's worked for you guys?
Yeah, it's been great. We had a group that managed the server, and I'll send a work order in, we'll send someone over. We just take it, days to get somebody on the phone. You guys kind of pick up right away. Sometimes there's no even hold. It's just you send it to the right person. We had a bit of an issue with our firewall setup just because the wiring in our place was made for 1,000, units, and we only occupied our 50-person office, and we couldn't figure it out remotely. And you guys sent your guy from Chicago to visit us and fixed it within a couple hours. And we really, really appreciate that because I know that's kind of above do put someone on a plane and doing it. You guys have been the best.
I appreciate that.
Blowing smoke, and that's why I agreed to do this because people should know.
I really appreciate that, Tony. In getting to the end of this here, overall, how has Microsoft 365 and the Microsoft phone system helped your business, if you had to summarize it?
Well, it's reduced cost a ton. We were kind of already paying for the Microsoft stuff to begin with, 365 to begin with. The additions that we added were not a lot. The managed cloud service that you guys provide is not, it's not that expensive. I think the numbers are somewhat close, but I think I remember probably around when you counted the phone systems, which had 3 service providers, and you had the server upkeep and then the outsourced group. I think we were looking at about our organization at the time was probably about 60 people. We probably $14,000 a month for all that stuff. I think we're about 6 now. I mean that small business like us, that matters. Everything just works. The printers never go down. We never have to reset the server again. People plug in. A new employee comes, sign in like this. Xerillion sets them up with an account. Here's your computer. Sign in to your cloud service, and everything's up and running. It just works.
That's great. Last question: how has working with Xerillion helped your business?
Again, the response time. You guys seem to care, which is a rarity these days. Again, not a tech-savvy firm like ours, being able to kind of we feel the state-of-the-art kind of IT infrastructure. For instance, we get audited every year by the SEC and FINRA. I needed our tech plan, and I had no clue what it was. I contacted the help desk. They sent me my policies, what we had and the policies behind it. And I had our auditor go, my gosh, you guys really take your security and your tech serious. And I was like, oh, I guess we do. So yeah, you're covering our 6, which is nice. And it's nice to know that, it's there. And I kind of do love the fact that we were able to kind of, during this crisis, pick up, send everybody 40 something different directions, and nothing has changed. That's a big comfort for me.
Well, I think it's too, it's neat that not everybody has the courage to make that move. And so you guys as a firm decided, okay, there was some faith, like, I've seen Wayne, talked to Will. I mean, that's all you really knew. Hopefully everything he's saying is really true here. And so for you guys to go ahead, and it was a big project. It was a substantial project. You guys really spent some money to get it done.
Yep.
But now you're done.
Done.
Wow, it's working. And here's the other thing. We're not going to do this again in 5 years. Like with servers, we would have to refresh the systems every 5 years. You guys are done. You're over the hump. Now you're just going to add subscriptions as you need them. That's it.
Yeah, that's it. I mean, even something to the effect that we didn't even know, like obviously we do so many conference calls, but not all those conference calls are with us, right? Or with our group. We have outside people. I didn't know that we could just have our, for a $2 add-on on our Teams service, I can have my dedicated conference line that goes into my Teams meetings that gets put in, a dial-in, because that was always the thing. Who's got the dial-in? Is anybody using the dial-in, our conference call dial-in? Now everybody has their own conference call dial-in. Don't have to worry about, dialing in a half hour and there's like 17 people already on the conference call line. Those days are gone.
Yeah, that's awesome.
And that was like $2 extra for everybody. It's really something.
I really appreciate that. And you guys have been great to work with as well. We're really fortunate to have you as a customer. So Tony, thanks for joining me here. And if you're interested to have your system set up like Drexel Hamilton's, Microsoft 365 E3, the Microsoft phone system, and have their business continuity and their disaster recovery protection, all the security they have in place, you can reach us at 847-995-9800, or you can email us support@Xerillion.com. Again, Tony, thanks a million for joining me. I really appreciate the time.
No, thank you. And thank everybody over at Xerillion for the help.
And to you watching this, thanks for watching.